Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the UnCalled Four, What Grinds Our Gears. If you're wanting to see stupidity being trounced, you've come to the right place. Thank you so much, and I'm going to now turn it to Ilya. Thank you.
Thank you, Aimee. How are you tonight?
I am great, thank you. Doing very well.
Do we have Matt on standby for Super Chat should we get some?
Yes, we do.
Wonderful. He does the best job with Super Chats. That last night was so much fun. If you haven't watched the last episode of the Silly Shield Show on the EiE Network, go to last night's episode, watch it, because Matt really just took the show, and it was amazing and brilliant. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Well, first, welcome to the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a great show planned out for you where we're going to be looking at what women's roles should be and traditional women's roles and what Girl Defined and the Transformed Wife think that women should be doing. So this should be a whole lot of fun. I love it when other people tell me what I need to do with my life. It's the best. So let's go around and say hi to our other panelists as well as our guest. First, let's start with Bull. He's behind the scenes as always, running things for us. How you doing, Bull?
We have some, I don't know what to call these, anti-feminists tonight.
Right.
Anti-feminists tonight, because they're women, so it's hard to call them misogynists, right? You really can't do that.
Sorry.
But yeah,
go ahead. Yeah. After Bull, Matt can get that super chat.
Sure.
Go ahead, Bull.
No, I was done. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Matt,
you.
go ahead with the super chat.
Dork Knobhead for $2 said, Super Chats, get some!
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. Also at the table with us tonight, we have the one and only Glober Mommy.
Hello.
As we had a wonderful incel name her, Mommy. Mommy.
Yes, mommy. Gotta go, mommy.
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 So what's going on in your world, Mommy, and what's coming out on your channel?
Just the usual making videos, Minecraft videos for right now. So expect one out tomorrow.
Yay! I love your Minecraft videos.
Yep, tomorrow and Thursday. Usually Mondays and Thursdays I'm shooting for. So
awesome.
Yes, I love
That's
doing
exciting.
them. They're work, but I love doing them.
Also sitting at our table tonight, we have the wonderful SciStrikeling, who just put out a new video on photography, which was phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
How are you tonight, sweetie?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Just working on the next video already and trying to get that settled up. Now that I got kind of the whole set laid out and everything's in pieces. It's a lot quicker to put together.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And keep in mind that she also does still do the movie nights on Friday nights on SciStrike's channel.
Yes.
And SciStrike just got memberships. So go check out the channel, join, let's support these channels, within our community. So, yay.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And for our guests tonight, we have two amazing women from overseas who are staying up super late to be with us. I think one is drinking and one is just happy to be here. So let's start with Hissy. Hi, Hissy from Hissy's Hideaway. How are you?
Hi, not too bad. Happy to be here. I'm the one who's drinking, but when am I not at this time of night?
Are you looking forward to getting into some of these videos that we're going to rip apart and debunk and have a good time with?
Oh, I am. I'm very much looking forward to it. So
Awesome.
This is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we also have Krafty Keelah. And Krafty Keelah, you have seen here in the side chat as of recently. And she is becoming, kind of her own independent, standalone creator within the community. So we're really happy to have her as well. Hi, how are you?
Hello. How are you, Ilya?
I'm good. I love your baby goats.
Yeah, I think they're going to be more famous than anything.
If you guys
I recently put out a challenge to 2 people in the community to name them. So yeah, it's gaining a bit of traction.
Wonderful. And yes, if you've not seen her channel, she has baby goats. go look at the baby coats. If you're having a bad day, go look at the baby coats. You will feel better. I
They're
promise you.
so cute.
So
They
thank
are.
you
They're
both,
precious.
Hissy and Krafty Keelah, for joining us tonight. We're so thrilled to have you on with us. As everybody knows, this show is about not just empowering women and not just fighting the incel narrative or the MGTOW narrative, but it's also about finding the traditional women's roles points of view, because we all are individuals and we need to be able to be ourselves. And Hissy and Krafty Keelah are creating their own shows. They're wonderful women in the community, so we're just absolutely thrilled to have you both on tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So with that said, as always, Bull, we're going to jump into the videos. Now, I do want to start off with the transformed wife videos. We've seen Girl Defined on this channel before, or on this show, I should say. We've seen Paul and Morgan, which is, there's a video I have in here of Paul and Morgan with a collab with Girl Defined. So that's going to be fun. But I think we should start with the transformed wife tonight. So, Bull, what were the names of the two videos for the transformed wife? And we'll just pick one.
We have Preparing to be Wives and Mothers versus What Does Keepers at Home Mean?
Okay.
Both sound awful. I guess if you guys are good with it, let's start with What Does Keepers of Home Mean?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah, let's
do
go with
that
that.
one.
Sounds good to me.
Let's
I
see
know what I
she
do at
says.
home, so let's see what they think I do at home.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Bull. Let's do it.
She's just all smiles all the time, this woman, just saying.
Today I'm going to be teaching about my favorite subject, women being keepers at home. A lot of godly women agree with me that women should be submissive to their husbands. They believe that they should obey them. They believe that that they should be modest and chaste, discreet, sober, and good. But for some reason, they disagree with me on being a keeper at home. They feel that women should be able to work outside of the home, or at least work part-time. And I just want to give you my reasons why I think that women should be home full-time.
Okay, so women are supposed to be submissive and chaste and sober.
And sober?
Oh, God.
That one I'm like, really?
Whoops.
I mean, like, for real, if you want me to be submissive to my husband, I'm not going to need to be sober for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's about 20 passages in the Christian Bible that says women have to be submissive to men, and men are the heads of women, and Christ is the head of men. What?
Men already
come on.
do way too much thinking with the wrong head. They don't need another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look, all people like this do is actually make it harder for stay-at-home mothers to be taken seriously in society.
Yes.
Exactly.
I agree.
Definitely.
So let me get this straight. She's talking to women who are perfectly fine with submitting to their husbands, being chaste, being sober, being prim, proper, going to church, and letting the husband lead. But because they want to work outside of the home, she's got a bone to pick. Am I hearing this right? Like, for real?
I think so, unfortunately.
Women aren't supposed to. Well,
For real?
I think her thing is women aren't supposed to want to work outside the home. The home is their work. Doesn't matter if the kids are grown, the husband's never there.
Yeah,
You're in the home. That's your job. So you need to be happy with that job, whether you like it or not.
it's also seeing the gender roles in a purely biological way.
Right.
So instead of seeing women as having independent, separate consciousness, they're just slaves to their
Yes.
biology.
Correct.
Oh my
Women
God.
are supposed to be sexual creatures. They're not supposed to be wanting things. It's up what the man wants it. They're supposed to submit to the man.
Oh my Lanta.
That's another thing with a lot of these women too.
I am so sober right now, but I'm not. I'm about to not
Yeah, I
be
need a
sober
drink.
just having to listen to her. Okay.
I know women like her, and it's yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to be drunk and non-submissive. I'm going to hell, y'all. I mean, just
All the cool
Yes.
people are going there anyway, so
That's
we're
right.
good.
All the
just
cool
put
people
me on a
anyway.
bus straight there because that's what's going to happen. All righty, Bull. Let's continue on.
If you look at 1 Timothy 5, Paul wrote to women, to the widows, the older women, that they need to, if they cannot, do not have family that will support them, they should be the first ones that support them, family or relatives. Then the churches should support them. And the younger women, the younger widows, should marry, bear children, and guide the home. He could have easily told these women to go out.
Pause. Yes.
Pause.
Pause.
Yeah, pause. Wait a minute. Whoa.
Did she?
Talk about cherry picking much.
Yeah.
That passage
hang
is
on.
about
Cow.
widows, elders, and slaves. Notice how she didn't make that comment.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But she actually mentioned the fact that the Bible tells young widows to marry their children.
Yes. Yes.
Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
What if their child is like 8?
Ew.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's like when my
That is
when
messed
my
up.
husband passed. My son was 2.
Yeah.
And a half,
So-
2.5.
Oh.
So, he just corrected me. Yeah, he was 2.5 when my husband passed away. And yeah, really, wow. A toddler?
What I knew a lady that she's in my church, but she never was able to conceive children. And so that's something she took offense at with the church when they talked about, they would always talk about being a mother and everything. She's like, what if you can't be a mother?
Exactly.
It's like, what about us?
Hello, I can't have any more kids, so I guess I am just a has-been who needs to wallow in my self-pity.
And here's the thing: I just don't want kids. I have enough kids without needing children.
Exactly.
I don't want kids.
No. You got those beautiful baby goats.
Exactly. I have enough kids as it is without actually having children running around.
Yeah,
Also-
exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
Can I just point out there's a line, I'm literally reading this 1 Timothy 5 now because and there's one line in it which I think just sums up everything wrong with the church, past and present, which says, where's it gone? Do not entertain an accusation against an elder unless it is brought by 2 or 3 witnesses.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
There's way too much going on in the world right now for me to take that seriously.
We just got
Yeah.
a super chat, guys.
Oh no, it's bad.
This is not a good super chat.
Yeah, no. Oh, goodness.
Let's go.
Okay.
Okay, Maddie. Who wants to do
Okay,
it?
those are South Korean won.
Okay.
Kiwiza for South Korean won 5,000 Korean wons said, this has been 33 killed in Canada's deadliest shooting rampage in 30 years. My condolences.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
My
Sad,
condolences go out to
my
that
condolences.
community too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's very sad. That's awful. That's
Oh, it's horrible.
I did see that chemo, that it was in
It's
Shannon Hughes' neck
1990.
of the woods because I saw that she posted on Twitter that she was in lockdown and hiding because of it.
yes. I saw that too. That's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I hate that. So let's get back to focusing here on this lovely woman's message in her video, and let's see what else she says we need to be doing that we're not doing.
Oh boy.
out and get a job. Work part-time, do whatever you can to make money. But he didn't. He said he didn't say anything along those lines. The first Proverbs 31 woman looked well to the ways of her household. Everything she did was for her home. She didn't have a job. She didn't leave 5 days a week or 2 days a week, the whole day working. She sewed in her home. She probably sold things from her home. She had bought a garden with that money and planted it. And then there's not one woman in the whole entire Bible who has a boss who leaves her home every single day.
what? What?
Lydia. Actually, no, she didn't have a boss. She ran her own business.
Yep.
Exactly.
Very true. And I want to tell you guys, Hissy is a historian. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have her on here specifically for this show.
Oh, how awesome.
He's a historian and an ex-Catholic. So he's having fun.
She can really
I'm an ex-Catholic too.
Apart, you know, for sure.
Well, what's interesting is how much she's investing in words that were written by individuals who are largely unknown. Because if you know anything about the Christian Bible, it comes from so many different scripts and so many different sources. There's no actual one person writing it. So she doesn't even know who the author of this is.
No.
There are so many things wrong with the Bible. I'm probably gonna end up creating a whole video collection on it.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have a collab on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, tweet me. Let's do it because wow.
Yes. All right, Bull, let's go on.
Two to 5 days a week and works for a boss. If you want to argue midwives, I know there's so many arguments, and women have given me many arguments to prove that women don't have to be, when keepers at home doesn't mean to be keepers at home. That midwives in Egypt, they there's always been midwives until recently, but they didn't hold office jobs. They were in their homes and they left when there was a baby that needed to be delivered. But the majority.
Just point out that at the time that the Bible was written, there were no such thing as offices.
Yeah.
There were no such thing as 9 to 5.
No.
You were literally owned by whoever was in charge, by the king, by the pharaoh, by whoever. There were no contracts 2,000 years ago. It has to be pointed out. There were no such thing as offices. You didn't have that option.
I mean, there were contracts, but they weren't held by women. They were held by men. Mm-hmm. And the closest a man got to an office was probably the front room in a Roman house.
And also, she's not exactly correct when she says there was no women going out to work, because
you don't expect someone who's about to drop a baby to come to you.
Right? Yeah, I mean, there were sexual orientated workplaces that women had to leave their homes to attend. So she's not really correct in that.
And not only that, she was the one that brought up that, these women are working out of their home, that they're, sewing and selling things out of their home. Well, they had to go to a market to do that. They had to, it wasn't.
Right. Well,
that's still work.
Just this whole thing about women don't leave the home. The brothel in Pompeii would disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Alrighty. Okay, Bull.
Their time was spent in the home, just as it has been up until just recently. Women were in the home, and society was a much better place.
No.
So I worked up until I had.
How many things how many things in society were not talked about but happened?
When was society better? Let me ask that question. When women couldn't vote, when women weren't able to make a living. I mean, women still aren't making a living to the same standard in which men make.
Right.
I mean, let's be real.
Can I just actually pull something? You see, up until capitalism, up until about 250 years ago, women were working. Women were working just as much as men. They just weren't paid for it. Neither was men. It was called peasantry. Women were still peasants. So the idea that women have never worked and they've only been in the home and they've only been caregivers, if you look at today's society, women are still the primary caregivers and we still work.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's the value for that work. That's what's different now. That we actually take value in that work.
And just to go back even more further into history, the Athenians thought the Spartans were weird because their women worked. But, the Athenians were elitist pricks at that point.
she's also
That's a nice way of saying it.
I get the feeling with her, the way she said it, she may not have meant it this way, but it was like the world changed. The world changed when women wanted to go to work.
The world evolved.
But again, it's ignoring the fact that women have always worked.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Exactly.
There's women that did work out of the home back in the 40s, 50s, and 30s, and it was not a big deal.
Exactly.
You know?
We kind of had to with half the men on the planet are in fields in France. You kind of got to step up and do your
Right.
bit.
And you know, I've been blessed to be able to.
I just love how she's ignored the majority of humanity's history. She's just ignored that and just said,
of course, exactly.
in these last
She went right over
200
it.
years,
Yep.
in these last 200 years, in the last 50, everything has changed. No, it hasn't.
No, sweetheart.
No.
No, it's evolved. It's evolved to where women have more rights and are actually getting compensated for their work. But what hasn't changed is the fact that women have always worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I agree. All right, Bull. Let's see what other shit out of her mouth.
Yes.
My second son, who's now 31, and it was very difficult. I didn't feel like I was a good wife or mother. I would come home completely exhausted, having to take care of my little baby, and Ken was completely neglected. And I would think, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, he's a big guy, he can take care of himself. But no, I was created first to be his helpmeet, and that's what I should have been doing, taking care of my husband, and then taking care of my children and my home.
Jeez.
His helpmate? Are you his wife or his mother?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I'm
He's
just
a
created
grown
to be his helpmate. That's it.
But that's part of the
Literally
shame
just
aspect.
completed
Yeah.
her 2-year-old with her grown husband.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is an important thing, though, because in society, especially in the church, women are shamed for having a separate identity to the home.
Right.
And so what she's describing is a mix of, postnatal depression of wanting to be with her baby, and this overwhelming amount of shame coming at her from everyone in her church, that she should be in the home, that she should be looking after her child. Why is she allowing her husband to do her work?
Right.
That's where that's coming from.
And see,
Because
I
her
get the
husband
feeling.
is a parent, not a babysitter.
Yeah, and I get the feeling she goes by Mrs. whatever your husband's name, first name, last name.
Oh,
It's like she's a Mrs. She's not her own person.
Right.
Like Mrs.
I feel
John
so
Doe.
sorry for people like that.
Yeah, like Mrs. John Doe. It's like,
She
yeah,
calls
Mrs.
herself
John
the
Doe. No, you're not. You are Jane.
Yeah,
or whatever,
exactly.
You have value in life. Yeah.
Yeah, she calls herself the transformed wife. The main aspect of her identity is the fact that she's a wife.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
And only a wife.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else about her.
And
like,
how is
she's
she
a wife and she's
transformed?
got a god on her, and that's it.
And how is she transformed? Has she always been like this, or was she like, a single, woman, and you know what I mean?
She writes a blog too.
Was she always like this, or was she, independent until she got married? And then it was like, oh, I'm a wife now. I can't be independent anymore.
I think at one point she worked out of the home, and I think now she does this full time because she came to a realization. I mean, I could do a little bit more research on her and get some of that backstory and follow back up with you. But I do know that she writes a Christian blog about women and what women.
Yeah, I've seen her tweets.
Don't bother; it will melt your brain. She blocked me on Facebook months ago.
Wow,
That is
it's a
an
badge
honor.
of honor when the transformed wife blocked you.
Yeah.
She's just Wow.
Alrighty. Well, let's continue.
All of that's a full-time job, women. And if you want to teach your children to love the Lord deeply, train them in the ways of the Lord, and discipline them to obey you, it's a full-time job. It sure was for me. And if you ask any little child,
Discipline them to obey you is a full-time job.
Can I point out this woman has caught hell recently for beating her children. Like they are
Can I also point out that she wants and needs her children to obey her like dogs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, the role of a parent isn't to control the children. The role of the parent is to guide the children.
Yeah.
Yes.
To become functioning adults.
And if you're raising your children right, they will do what you asked them to do, within reason, obviously.
Example.
But like lead by example. Yeah, exactly.
You lead by example. You don't lead by fear.
Yeah.
I mean that comment is so mind-numbingly, face-palmingly bitter at her own children. For wanting their own identities. It is ridiculous.
It is so ridiculous.
It is.
All she's doing is playing out the same dynamic between her and her husband, but she's trying to take some power by taking it out on her kids.
Yep.
That's what's happening.
Exactly.
It's an abuse.
What is happening? Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Y'all know why I picked this video now, right?
I love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
You needed this. You needed this as therapy just to rip her to shreds.
Exactly.
I need stress balls though while we're watching it, like those ones you just squeeze in your hand. Jeez.
Sorry, Chemo just said it's called bullying. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is bullying. I view it that way too. I think when you bully your children, it's disgusting. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Bull. Jesus Christ.
How long is left in this?
Actually, it's not long at all. It's got.
Oh, thank God.
We're actually only about halfway through, though. It's only a 6-minute video, but we got 2 minutes and 37 seconds left.
Okay.
And there's another one after
Go
this.
longer than 10 seconds this time. Let's see how long we can go before we have to
Oh, that's going to be a challenge.
Because she always has some stupid coming out. So
Okay, Bull, roll it. We'll try.
Who they want
really
to be
hard.
home with. If you gave them an option of mother, nannies, or daycares, every single little child would say their mother. Even if they weren't a great mother, they would want to be home with their mother. Children love home. They love order. They love scheduling. We have a preschool right down the street here, and we see these little babies being dropped off early in the morning at 6 in the morning, and the parents not coming home until 6 at night. The parents aren't even raising them, and it's just tragic to me. Mothers should be ones raising their children. They should have plenty of time to fix good, nourishing food for their family and shop for their food and to keep their homes clean and tidy and train their children to help with the home, to having chores and teaching them discipline and self-control in those areas too, and in eating healthy. And
Can I just
longer than
again with the training your children?
Yeah, I heard that too.
yeah, no.
Are you going to put a dog collar on them or something? Like what?
Yeah. Can I just point out one thing, okay? Because okay, just say I can't say Glober mommy because it just doesn't sound right in my accent, so it's mammy. But Glober mommy just pointed out something very, very important there. Circumstances do not always allow for women or men to stay at home. Because of circumstances, they have to work. They have to work to put food on their table. Not every family has the opportunity and has the same degrees of staying at home with their children. So yes, children want to stay home with their parents. Sometimes they want to get away from their parents. I know at a young age, I wanted to be free. But may I also say that she's also kind of condemning the people who work in those Montessori schools and in those creches, because they do fantastic work at scheduling, at giving those children structure. And that also needs to be acknowledged.
For sure.
Also, can I point out, just because a child was pushed out of you doesn't mean a degree in education was pushed out of you.
Here, here.
You are not necessarily
Right.
the best person to raise your child.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Well, take us for example. I have my son has special needs. We get help all the time to help me help him, be able to make it through daily life. I mean, it's just what we do. I mean, it's not a bad thing, and it's a really good thing. It helps us out.
Yep.
And the ability to ask for help and the ability to, you know, say I'm struggling, or the ability and have someone there that's able and willing and trained to help you is a good thing.
Absolutely,
I
it
can't
is.
believe I'm even saying that sentence, but it's a good thing.
It is a
And
good thing. I was able
I
to
was a single
reach right
mom,
out.
and I get it's hard to work outside the home and all that. But you explain to your children, here's why I have to do it, so I can make sure you have food on the table, you have clothes, clothes to wear, things that you explain to them, and they learn as they grow. Okay, mommy's doing this because it's not because mommy doesn't love me, doesn't want to
Right.
be with me.
But if you're doing
You
it
know
from
what
a
I
young
mean?
age,
Yes.
you're not even going to notice, because
No,
that's
the kids are
just the
going to be
way
so used
your
to it.
life
That's what
is.
mom does.
And what would
Right.
she say about the kids? What would she say about the children who are going to, daycare or a nanny who, because she's struggling or whatever and can't feed them 3 meals a day, and they're at least getting food 3 times a day? What does she say about those mothers? What does she say about the women who are in an abusive home and the only chance that they have to get their children out of it is sending them to daycare to give them some peace
Exactly.
somewhere?
Or even for them to work to get out.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to.
She's obviously coming at him.
I wanted to point
Come on,
out that a single income home is practically a luxury in today's world. It really
Yeah.
is. Like it's total. Like I to my parents, it's like my dad's like, well, why can't you save money? Because it's paycheck to paycheck. It literally is at that point for almost the whole world. The middle class has disappeared.
Yes, it
Pretty
has.
much.
And that
Which is why we
whole
have so
white
many
picket
perks.
fence, white picket fence, mama staying in the kitchen baking pies all day till the kids get off school, helping them with their homework. That's a very rare thing. Very rare.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic in today's world.
Yeah.
The cost of living is higher than most people make.
Exactly.
It takes 2 incomes to make ends meet. And even then, when you have 2 incomes, there are times it's paycheck to paycheck when you account for insurance coming out of paychecks, taxes, and then you account for, if you do have small children, daycare. I know a couple right now whose wife does stay home full-time and is a full-time housewife or homemaker, whatever you want to call her, because her job would go to pay for childcare, and it doesn't make sense for her to work.
Well, what's interesting is here in Ireland, they a couple of years ago they cut off the lone parents after the child turned 7. So any help that parents were getting as lone parents was cut off after the child turned 7. So
Yes, 'cause
I mean, a lot
magically-
of parents came out and said, "What am I supposed to do? Leave the child at home at the age of 7?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there was no childcare. There was no childcare available.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Magically, 7-year-olds are capable of looking after themselves, didn't you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like to believe that I was at 7, but I know I wasn't.
I was reasonably competent, but I wouldn't have left me alone with a frying pan.
I mean, my son at 7 was just wearing his Spider-Man costume 24 hours a day. I think he was more than capable of being home alone, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Come on. Seriously,
Yeah.
people.
Crazy.
All right. Well, let's
Okay.
do this.
They should have extra energy left to be helpmeets to their husbands when they come home. Have set time for your children to go to take naps. My kids were in bed every single day from 1 to 3. They could, if they were older, they were right in their bed, but it was quiet time, so I could just rest. And I didn't use that time to do housework and everything because I did it when they were awake and with them. I rested during that time, so I'd have energy for the evening. And then put your kids to bed when they're little at 7 o'clock, and when they're a little bit older, 8 o'clock. I always did this. So I had plenty of time, downtime to rest. And then if I was really sick, I didn't have to worry about going to a job the next day. There wasn't that anxiety. So home is a wonderful place for mothers to be. And no one will ever be able to convince me that it's not the way it should be. So it's going to be up to you.
her fallacies are starting to drive me mad. She's appealing to emotion. She's completely not open to being convinced otherwise or to any evidence. She's just, this is not a discussion she's trying to have. She's just trying to propagate an idea. And she doesn't care about whether she's right or wrong, as long as she's heard.
Yeah, and she doesn't really understand the dichotomies that people live in. They don't live in that singularity world. There are so many impacting forces that sometimes, as has been mentioned, sometimes it's not feasible to stay in the home. Sometimes it's not healthy to stay in the home. And what's remarkable about this is that, yes, it's not just that she's not willing to be convinced. She is telling you that you should not be convinced.
Also, her children must be terrified of her. Because how many people can hand on heart say that they know a child who never once argued against bedtime or nap time?
Right.
They must be terrified of her to be that obedient.
Correct.
Oh my
and
God.
I also want to point out too that in conjunction with what she said, I do want to say this. If there are homemakers, housewives, stay-at-home moms, whatever you want to call it, in the audience, there is nothing wrong with that.
No,
absolutely.
We are not saying that there is anything wrong with staying at home. What we are combating here is someone who says you should stay at home, and there's a difference.
Yeah, it's reinforcing the idea that you are nothing without the home, that you are not an individual, that you cannot have a personality separate to being a mother and wife. That's what we're challenging here.
Yes, we are challenging her beliefs as to why women should stay at home. So that's what we're doing. Now, if you are someone who stays at home, more power to you. You have one of the hardest jobs on the planet. And you don't get near enough credit for what you do. But at the end of the day, we are all individuals, and we should all be able to choose what we want for our lives, whether that be single, married, doing whatever.
I could not be a stay-at-home mom. I just couldn't do it.
I don't think
married as I could not do it. I would go mad after about a week.
Me too.
I can barely take care of myself. You want to put me in charge of anything more sentient than a potted plant?
I did it solely because when I had my daughter, my son was 5. So I had to get him to and from school, help him with homework, this and that. My daughter was a baby. We fell through the cracks. We could not afford daycare, nor could we get help with daycare.
Right.
Yeah.
So it fell on me to stay home until my daughter was about 7 when she qualified for the after-school program at school. When that I got her in there, and I went to look for a job because I needed to get out of the house.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I grew up in a one-parent home. My mom has disabilities. My dad was an absolute psycho who had, well, for me anyway, he had me suicidal at the age of 8. He was psychologically abusive, and she made that decision when she became pregnant on me to get out, because she, I mean, just to give you a flavor of what people are like, some people are like he screamed in my 2-year-old sister's face at the time, saying that Christmas was for the rich and we're not rich, so you're not getting a doll for Christmas, you're getting nothing. And then went and drank his paycheck. Do you know what I mean? So her only escape was getting out. You know, and the idea then that she shouldn't have an identity separate to her children is so unhealthy. Mentally, it's so unhealthy.
This is something as well. This entire thing of women should stay home and not work, it's entrapment. I don't know about anyone else. Like, I love my husband, but I was always raised to have what my mum called a fuck it fund.
Yeah.
A fund by which if your husband crosses a line, you can say fuck it and off you go.
Yeah. And you've got the means to get out.
And you've got the means to get
Rainy
out.
Day.
Which means you've got to be working to do something like that. You've got to be able to protect yourselves.
I know a lot of women in the South who had a quote-unquote fuck it fund. I grew up with some women who said that they always stashed their own money somewhere just in case, because unfortunately it is not unheard of in the South of the U.S. to be a traditional stay-at-home wife and live in an abusive situation. I know many people who go through that, and I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's stereotypical. What I'm saying is you see it.
It exists.
It exists, and it's like when I look at these channels like the Transformed Wife or Paul and Morgan or Girl Defined, these channels, it's like I know these women. I've met them.
Yeah, and these are the women that are saying that behavior is okay. If you're in an abusive relationship, he loves you because he's taken the time to punish you. And now you have to take the time to punish your children.
You.
But it's one of those things that love cannot come through abuse.
Right.
And it shouldn't come through abuse. You can't love your children by forcing them to be obedient.
No.
And it's reinforcing that idea that love comes from abuse. That's what's scary.
Well, let's try to finish this video out.
Shall we, Chipmunker? Please.
Let's try to just get to the end of this video so we can move on to the next one.
Yes. Yes.
I'll go 150%.
Okay.
Cool.
You'll hear a lot of different controversial statements about it. Differing, not controversial. Said it too much like it takes. Differing views about what I teach and what I say. But you study the word for yourself. And if your husband doesn't want you to be home, pray about it. Just ask the Lord to convict him and live simply and carefully and during the weekends when you're home, show him how wonderful home is with you there. Because many women have been able to convince their husbands with a godly, gentle plea to them about being home. Because this is the place where women are supposed to be keepers at home. Just the way God created it, and his ways are always by far the best.
Oh, thank God that's over.
Oh, God.
Okay, so
Good Lord.
let's get the super chat knocked out. Let's let Matt knock the super chat out.
Sure. Can you do the super
Final
chat?
thoughts
Yes.
on this real quick.
Failed at engineering for New Zealand $5. New Zealand dollars said both my parents worked so they could send I and my brother to best schools and colleges. My mom earned more than my dad. I'm so grateful. Both retired now.
That's right.
Thank you, Matt.
Nice. Yes.
His mother is a heathen, according to this woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Like,
earned more
Right.
than her dad.
That's,
Thank you, Monia,
How
for the
dare
super
she.
chat.
That is
We
brilliant.
love you. We love you.
How dare
We
women
hope
be
to have you on
stupid.
soon too, by the way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, my final thoughts on this are: she said at the very end there, in case you didn't hear it in chipmunk mode, that if your husband doesn't want you to stay at home and wants you to work, then you should pray about it. So
Just pray about it. Mm-hmm.
you know, I think
Yeah.
we need
Sorry.
to change it.
Yeah.
Like what? Pray about it? Okay, so dear God, I'm coming to you right now to say, please send me a man who wants to take care of me and give me no identity.
Yeah.
Bless your heart. Okay.
Yeah. Just bless your heart.
Bless your heart, sweetie.
Yeah.
Sweetheart.
Oh my gosh. This woman, I think, is absolutely ludicrous and absolutely off her rocker. I don't know if it comes from fear. I don't know if it comes from, I don't know where
That's a
it comes
possibility.
from, but I think she's absolutely incredibly,
Toxic?
yes, toxic.
Yeah,
Absolutely she
and I
is.
say this with all respect, and as someone who has my own mental health issues, she's damaged. She needs help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I say that as someone who seeks therapy myself. I look at her and I'm just like, how can you hear these things that come out of your mouth and
Correct.
think that is okay?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with you that only a professional can diagnose.
Right.
And, and
Yeah.
it's like someone needs to
Exactly.
sit down and
Here's
give
the
this
thing, here's
woman
the
a
thing.
shake and tell her
See-
the way life really
See-
is.
Ilya will say, bless her heart. I say, get the fuck.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just a nice way to say it. See,
I say bless your heart because that's the Southern euphemism
that's a Southern. Yes.
for you're stupider than shit. So
Oh, what the hell? hell is wrong with you?
You
What an
swore, Mom.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, Amy, your language.
You're swearing on the
Amy.
live stream. We're making it a kid show.
If you
No,
want,
I was gonna. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's the
We're
southern
making it
one.
rated G.
Yeah.
If you're going to insult someone in southern language, it's bless your heart.
Bless your heart. I was gonna say. I'm trying to remember now. That a lot of the men that don't want women to work will kill themselves to maintain the home, and they're not there for the children.
Mhm.
Most of the time, except for the
Can
weekends.
I also say that I know a hell of a lot of men who do stay home. They're stay-at-home fathers,
We got
and they're
another super
absolutely
chat, guys.
fantastic. So what she's also saying there is that a man can't be a father and a homemaker, and that's just
No,
ridiculous.
she's not. Yeah.
Okay, we've got
men
another.
are there to take care of me, take care of women. You know.
We got
That's their
another
attitude.
super chat for Matt.
Yes. There it goes.
Christ Puncher for $2 Canadian said, Amy, language! Gosh darn it!
Sorry.
I love
I
the
know,
way
gracious.
he just emphasizes the words with the exclamation points. It's great.
So passionate.
Yes.
Awesome. He is. He's very.
I love Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So,
Oh,
we got another one.
We got another one, guys.
got another one.
Failed at engineering for $2 New Zealand said, that's not a ladylike. Nah, swear y'all all want all you want.
Who said I'm a lady?
Oh, I never claimed to
Who
be.
said I'm a lady? I'm a woman. Who said I'm a lady?
That's bull.
I wasn't aware that my womb came with the terms and conditions
bull.
form.
It did. You didn't read the fine print, did you?
No.
I mean, darn.
Okay, so let's talk about videos. So we've got 3 that are girl defined, with one of those being a collab with Paul and Morgan, and another from the Transformed Wife. Do you guys want to watch the next Transformed Wife, or do you want to move into a different one?
No, her voice goes through my head. Please, no more torture. No more torture.
Okay, Bull, read us the 3 videos that are girl defined and stuff, and there's the one that's the collab.
Okay, so the collab is Christian Modesty, Unfair Standards for Girls. Then the 2 girl-defined solos are the most challenging things about being a Christian teen girl, and how old should I be before I start dating?
Ooh, that one.
That one.
Let's do that
Dating.
one.
Let's see if we all started way too young.
I started way too old.
There you go.
I wasn't allowed to start dating until I was 16.
All right.
Listen,
I'm willing to bet they're gonna say you were too young. That's
Yeah.
16.
I was
Right,
20
probably.
and I
Bring it.
married him.
Bring it.
I basically did the traditional Catholic thing.
All right.
Without-
Let's roll it, Bull.
Hey, it's Kristen and Bethany here with Girl Defined Ministries, and in today's vlog, we're going to be discussing the question, how old should I be before I start dating?
So this question, how old should I be before I start dating, is one of the most popular questions we get. And I think more
We
recently.
get it, yeah, all the time.
It's
Like,
a good question. At our
question.
conference recently, tons of girls during the Q&A were asking that in emails, Instagram messages.
Can I just say, those 2 girls are stereotypical American valley girls.
Yeah, I was thinking like California.
Their voices are so high pitched and so freaking annoying.
Like, oh my god!
Ow.
And that
Also,
accent
can I just-
is.
I'm just going to
Like, oh my
point
god,
out
I don't care.
the pure hypocrisy of these 2 girls done up to the eyeballs in makeup, low-cut tops, like
Yeah.
all the rest of it, and these girls are going to give Christian advice on
Yes.
modesty.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
All
All right, sorry. Let's go.
Let's go.
Just Facebook messages. And so we were talking about it, like, let's talk about this because the
you
two of
don't
us,
know.
you know, we do have a lot of thoughts on it, and we did wait until we were at a certain point in our life before we entered into a relationship. And so we were like, hey, let's just open up, share our stories, talk about a little bit of romance, and kind of share why we did what we did. So for me, I remember being in high school, and I remember like being interested in guys and thinking,
Oh my
Has
goodness.
she breathed yet?
Sorry, she just said they waited until to get a bit of romance.
Teenage
Okay,
boys
but-
don't do romance.
Yeah.
So-
Not all relationships center around romance. Not all
No.
relationships focus on romance. And there's probably one of the reasons why she was left waiting until she was 19, 20.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, these girls probably did one of those weird daddy-daughter dance things, so,
Yeah.
you know.
They absolutely did. Well, I'm willing to bet that is bull. I don't think they waited until they were 19.
No.
Not a hope. They look like cheerleaders.
Yeah.
They probably
I think
were.
they became Christians at the age of 20.
Probably. Yes. All right, Bull, let's go.
like,
Ooh. Before high school.
yeah, like more seriously though, like
Yeah.
these kind of like you kind of start to get to that point
You
where
start
you're more
thinking of the
serious.
future.
Yeah,
Like,
not just like crushes, like oh he's like there's a crush, but more like 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 could he be someone I might end up with? Could he be someone I might end up with? You know, you start to have those thoughts more seriously. But because of a lot of just books we had read, talking to our parents, other wise mentors and counselors, both of us waited, I think, until our later teens, even early 20s, to get into a serious relationship. And for me, I remember being 19. That wasn't the magical age, but it was just 19 when a guy came along, you know, expressed a lot of interest in me. I really liked him. He was a really good friend, and we actually entered a serious relationship. And that was my first like big serious relationship where I thought, I might marry this guy. And well, I'm still single. It didn't work out, but that's
quite
a
work
story
out.
for another day.
Yeah.
Go read about how to handle a breakup on the blog.
Yeah.
You'll hear
We
about
have
it
lots
there.
of stories.
Anyways, the reasons though that we waited were really specific. And so in this blog, we want to share with you why we waited until we were a little bit older and more mature to get into a serious relationship. And we just want to encourage you to do the same thing. So like Bethany said, back when we were in high school, we actually faced the exact
Okay, just because you waited doesn't mean everyone else has to. It's not a race, but it's not a...
No.
There's no
Also
such
notice
timeline
there
on
how
it.
they talked about how many stories were on their blogs.
They just...
Yeah.
Yeah. Just plug,
Yeah.
plug, plug, plug.
I don't know, but the fact that they actually had to say that we have lots of stories there. How many breakups have these girls been through? And how many? What do they define as a serious relationship?
That was what I was about to ask. What
Yeah, well,
is
seeing
this
as-
That's true,
relationship
huh?
to you?
Seeing as how they talked about having, you know, that this was like her first, you know, serious relationship.
Again,
Yeah.
what do they define as serious?
That's when
That's
they
very
allow.
subjective as well.
They take a
Exactly.
crap. They went to the bathroom and took a crap and didn't turn the shower on. That's a serious relationship.
Oh boy.
Someone
Wow.
brought them toilet paper.
Oh, it was all sold out. People were hoarding it from these two.
It could be that magic moment when one let out a fart when the other one was in their presence too. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm serious now. Oh my god.
Like, seriously.
Like, really? Oh my god, you farted. Oh, how cute. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yes, I used to be Speak Valley girl a long time ago.
That was
can't
very
decide whether
popular when I was in high
Back
school
when it was
too.
very popular, yes.
Anyone, I can't
Kinda
decide
came
whether
out.
they're right now late 90s Britney Spears or did anyone ever see High School Musical and the blonde girl in that?
Oh,
What's her name?
not
Sharpay?
Sharpay.
Oh, that's what they're giving me
I was-
vibes of right now, and I can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're just so, they seem so vapid as well.
They,
They are.
The thing,
they're fake.
Yeah, and I don't care what your relationship history is. Just don't try and make me follow your path.
I get Legally Blonde, and I also get the girl in Clueless out of them as well.
Yes.
Yeah, like the first half hour of Legally Blonde.
Yes.
Pretty much. Without the partying.
Yes.
Because they're too thick to party. Could you imagine those two at a party? Oh, no.
Party over.
Let me tell you about my friend Jesus. No. These are sorority girls without the sorority.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much. We just got a super chat.
Yes, we did.
Irish Dublin girl, we got two, for $2 said, I would rather listen to flirfs than these two brats. And we just got another one. Res Instance for Australian $2 said, girl defined, shallow.
Yeah.
Absolutely shallow.
Shallow is right.
And they're not even real blonde.
Absolutely.
Just going to point that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
The roots.
Not that it matters. I just had to point that out. So they bleach. Oh, they're going against the Bible. They're changing their hair color. They're wearing makeup.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, see,
they're
makeup
great
is not-
Christians.
Yep.
I just.
Oh boy.
Although power to them so far, they haven't actually mentioned religion yet.
No, they
haven't.
True.
Stopped.
Not yet, but.
It's like they're setting the bait.
Shall we continue on then? Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Question that we're addressing on the vlog today. We asked the question, how old should we be until we start dating? That was a question we had because like Bethany said, we noticed guys noticed us. There was a lot of interest circulating and we wondered like, should we start dating? Should we start getting in relationships? But during that season of our life, some people really challenged us. Like Bethany said, our parents, some books we read, and they were asking us this question. What is the purpose of a romantic relationship? And when we looked around at our friends, at our culture, kind of what was trending.
They're talking
Can I
about.
just say one thing? Can I just say one thing?
Go ahead.
It is factually incorrect that they read books.
And also, I wanted to point out
They're
that
picture books, though. Let's be honest, they're picture books.
They're entirely too young to be talking about having seasons in their lives.
They're
For
babies.
fuck's sake.
They're too young.
Yeah.
They're like in their early 30s and they think they're wise. That's so cute.
Oh wow, they're older than I am, and I'm looking at them and thinking,
they're probably in their. They seem to be more like in their mid to late 20s.
I wouldn't have put them at older than 21.
Yeah.
And that's
They're
allowing
babies.
for the immaturity that sort of American culture breeds.
Yeah. It's amazing the mind-blowing arrogance of these two children thinking that they can tell people when to start relationships.
Right.
Exactly.
That's
and
hilarious.
that you should
to
be
me.
shamed because you started yours earlier than they did. You know, it's just I'm so tired of this whole shaming thing that everybody thinks is necessary. It's not. You know.
Just live and let live, people. Just why do
Exactly.
you care about my relationships? Deal with your own. You've clearly got enough of them.
Yeah, clearly enough hang-ups to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Stay out of mine, right?
It's hard being a teen as it is, and then throw dating into the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody just works on their own time.
Yep.
Well, more stupid?
Yeah, I guess so.
What was popular, getting in a relationship was just about having fun. It was about you hooking up with a cute guy, going on dates and having a good time. That's really
all that it was about. There wasn't really a big picture, a long-term vision involved in the relationship. And so as we were personally challenged with that question, what is the purpose? We were driven to have to look at God's word for answers, to have to look at wisdom and say, okay, what is the bigger picture? What is the purpose? Is it about just having fun and dating around? Or should we as Christian girls have a long-term vision for relationships? And when we stepped back and really started evaluating this question and evaluating our lives, we realized, wow, God's bigger picture, when we look in the Bible, his bigger picture for romantic relationships really is to put us on a path toward one thing. And that one thing ultimately is marriage. That's really in scripture what we see romantic relationships to drive us.
Pause. Okay, so first of all, having casual relationships, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's no shame in that. You're not going to find the person you want in this world unless you go through the people you don't want and you figure out what you don't want.
Right. And what you like and what you don't like.
Yes.
Because that's part of it. When you're engaging in a sexual relationship, or even just finding out what kind of who you are and who you like to be with, part of it is bouncing off different people and interacting with different people and finding out what you like. And there's nothing shameful about that.
Nope. Nope. Be as casual as you want to be. There's nothing wrong with that, and you should never feel ashamed of that.
But as long as you're doing it with an open mind, and as long as you're doing it with education.
Correct.
Because that's another thing, because these girls are the type of girls who say, absolutely don't date until you're late teens, as in 18, 19, when you're an adult. Don't use condoms, don't use protection, don't know about things, just wait until you're ready for marriage. And that's the other thing that I want to explain. The idea that you can't have a decent relationship, a meaningful relationship, without the end goal being marriage is so beyond ridiculous.
Yes. Agreed. And this is where we get a lot of teenage pregnancy, because there is more talk about abstinence than there is about protection. And we as a society have an obligation to teach our young people,
shut up and let them talk,
about everything else. But we have an obligation to teach them about proper
informed consent,
birth control, informed consent, those types of things. We would narrow down the percentage or flatten the curve, which is the most popular term for things right now, on teenage pregnancy if we educated.
I mean, personal anecdote here. I was like 13 when my mum took me to get hormonal contraceptive. I was 15 the first time she handed me condoms, and she basically said, I know you're going to do it. I'd rather you be safe about it.
Right.
So, there's nothing wrong with educating your daughters and your sons, and if they're another gender, there was nothing wrong with educating your children about sex and making sure that they know when they're ready.
Before you read out Super Chat, I came from the opposite background, because anyone that knows anything about Ireland has always been suppressive of women's sexuality. So I was raised in a Catholic household. Not as strictly Catholic, but my nan and granddad, who were like my second parents, they were strict Catholics. And if you wore a skirt up beyond your knees, they were like, what are you doing?
Can we take a look around here?
I
was born in the opposite. We didn't talk
Will you guys
about
just shut up and let me read?
We didn't talk about any of that. It was banned.
No, I do agree. I was raised Catholic as well, but my mum spent most of her life deprogramming me from what I was learning in school.
Yeah. We learn nothing. Actually, what you do is go and look up Ireland's sex education from the 80s and 90s. There you will find some real stupid.
Did you get the UR special worksheet?
Yeah. And when two people love each other and are married, they give each other special hugs.
Oh gosh.
Jeez.
Let's let Matt read the Super Chat, and then
Yeah.
Sorry about that. He gets a little impatient.
That's all right.
We get it.
Resistance for Australian $5 said the purpose of a romantic relationship is subjective to each individual. Not sure why they even bring it up. Bring that up.
I agree.
Very true. Very true. But the reason that they bring it up is to try and create this illusion that all relationships are the same, and they're not.
Right. They're all cookie
Because
cutter
any
relationships.
divergence from the ultimate goal of trapping people in marriages is dangerous to them.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's get back to the video.
Yep.
Let's go.
Toward that end goal ultimately, which is marriage. And so if we're just getting in casual relationships, kind of dating around with no big picture in mind, no end goal in mind, just having fun, then you end up just on these circular relationships that just kind of go round and round. You hop from one guy to the next, and there's really no big picture in mind. And as Christian girls, we had to stop and really ask ourselves, is this the best plan? Is this setting us up for long-term success? Is this good, honestly, like good practice for a future marriage, which is long-term commitment for your whole life, right? And so with all of that in mind, we really decided, wow.
Can I just say, so for them to say, is this setting me up for a long-term relationship or marriage or on the road to success? Yes, it is, because you're realizing with each relationship what you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like, and ultimately you're evolving as a person, and that's healthy.
Yes.
I don't.
Also,
then you won't settle.
The days when marriage is the be-all and end-all, I mean, we would hope it is, but that's an ideal. It's not a reality.
Right.
And also, not all marriages are forever.
I also want to say that she said if all you're doing is having casual and fun, you just go round and round and hop from one guy to the next. No. Well, for me, that's completely not true.
Yeah.
Also, can I point out, when you go round and round on that cycle of relationships, it gives you plenty of stories for your blog.
Very true.
More books. Blog
And
the
who
book.
says that it's from guy to guy? I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
You guys are completely forgetting about the LGBTQ community. You're not taking into account that there are other relationships out there that don't follow a traditional man and woman role, if you will. And, you know, you're not appealing to an overall arching audience. You're appealing to young Christian girls and giving them ridiculous advice that is not.
But what they're actually doing is they're setting these girls that are watching these videos, and the guys as well, they're setting up these young people for failure, because they're creating this this falsehood of relationships, this false idea of relationships, that the relationship that you get into that's meaningful is the only relationship that you can have. And that's a dangerous thing. It's setting people up for failure, because when you're in one of those relationships, those toxic relationships that don't end up working, then what? What's the plan then?
You turn into the transformed wife.
Yeah.
That's what happens. You go from being one of these girls who wants to perfect romance to being a transformed wife who's telling people that they should stay at home in an abusive marriage.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that what they're doing is they are a horrible example for young women, whether they realize it or not. And I know that they think they're trying to put purity and good out into the world, but all they're doing is telling lies and telling these young women, this is how you have to be, this is what your end goal should be. And let's be clear, the end goal should never be just to get married. What kind of life is that to live, where all your life choices are built around just getting married one day? No.
Exactly.
Never settle. My life goal has never been about being married. My life goal is about living the best life that I can live while I'm fucking here. So
And
anyway.
honestly, I fell in love by accident. I never planned on getting married. I always said, I'm going to be an academic. I'm going to spend my life flying between countries, things like that.
Yeah.
Things change. You've got to be open to that. But equally, you don't build your life around one. And the thing is, as well, the kind of pressure, just to come at it from another point, the kind of pressure this is putting on the poor lads that they're dating.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
To be the perfect husband from the
Like they're
off.
setting them up for failure there.
Yes, and I do want to call out Dark Knight Apologetics says, I'm just going to say this message is hurting the gospel message.
Yes.
Dark Knight, I completely understand and respect everyone's faith. If you're a Christian, I respect that in you. Live as you live, believe as you believe. I think that it would be good for someone like you, who's a man in the Christian community, to put out videos to counteract this, because your voice is needed. When you disagree with what they're saying, this type of topic is where you would excel in your channel to combat this type of rhetoric when it comes to the gospel. So I think I noticed that you said a little while ago you were going to put out a series on this. Do it. Do it. You have my support as your friend, and I think that it would be absolutely great to hear from a man in the Christian community who disagrees with this rhetoric. I think that as a woman on the outside looking in, I need to hear that from you, and it would be great to hear that from you.
Yeah, exactly, because they're putting, like we're saying, they're putting a lot of pressure on the men to, oh, I've got to be romantic. I've got to do this, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pressure on both sides.
And I wonder, she was saying that her first, serious relationship didn't last. And, obviously that happens, especially at that age. But, not that we would get the correct answer from her, but I'm just curious what led to that, breakup, and, was it the pressure and just maybe her, her ideas and,
age. Yeah, who knows?
For sure. All right, Bull, let's get back to this video.
Wow. It doesn't honestly seem like the wisest idea to get in a relationship when you're too young to really go anywhere with it, to really do anything with it, right? You're just in these relationships for years and years, which can bring up a lot of temptations and a lot of struggles. So for us, with that in mind, and with some other things Bethany's going to share, we really decided that it would be wiser for us to wait so we could be more intentional in a serious relationship once we were mature and actually ready for it.
So we know everything we're saying. It's not like the law. This isn't you have to obey this. This is the way.
There isn't a one-size-fits-all perfect mold.
There isn't a one-size-fits-all perfect mold, but there are things that are more helpful. And so because this stuff was so helpful for us, really back in high school and even like junior high, middle school, thinking about these things, we really just want to share them with you because they really impacted our lives. And now that we're kind of on the other side looking back, we look back and go, wow, that was really helpful. We're so grateful that people were willing to share those things with us as older women. Now, not older women,
we're
later
older women.
She's 30, so I guess you're pretty old. Anyways, but there were three specific things that we were challenged to think about, and I think these were the most impactful. The number one was to think about the temptation that could come along with being on these long relationships when you can't go anywhere with them. So think of being in a romantic relationship with a cute little hunk that you're totally in love with when you're like 14 or 15.
Okay, the temptation. Okay, so is she seriously suggesting, well, I'm presuming they're propagating, wait for marriage, but who the hell gets into a relationship for years and years and years and it doesn't go any further than holding hands and chase kisses?
Yeah.
That's not a relationship.
She did.
Or what's wrong with temptation? That's my question.
There is nothing wrong with temptation. Temptation tells you what you like the idea of.
I
like temptation.
I don't think that there's anything wrong with temptation, and you don't have to be in a relationship to have temptation, period. So everything they're saying in this is just a logical fallacy, because you do not have, there is no link between being in a relationship and temptation. Those are two separate things, and I don't understand why they are.
And my issue with that whole, temptation is so bad thing that has driven me nuts forever is temptation is a natural human emotion. I mean,
yes, it is.
Very much.
You can't help it.
Humble folks without temptation.
Yeah, so that's
in the 80s that was like, temptation is a part of life. Doesn't matter if it's wrong or right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like you think. Here's the thing. Here's the other word for temptation. Okay, and this is the dangerous word for temptation. Desire. You cannot have a relationship without desire.
I mean, think about something. Temptation means, oh, there's a donut sitting there. I'm tempted to eat it. Okay, this guy's over here. I'm tempted to kiss him. Okay, you have to go with, you know what I mean? Tempted is such a subjective word as well. It's like, it's part of life. You need to know where your boundaries are, and that's where temptation comes in.
Temptation and desire can be interchangeable, but also separate. Like, I can be tempted to have a Coca-Cola over water, but I have a desire or a longing to be with someone who I'm not with in a physical space, right? So they're interchangeable, but they also can be different things. Oh, we have a super chat. Where's Matt?
Matt.
Okay, there you go, kiddo.
Mom, I'm not happy with you.
Okay.
Res instance for Australian $2 said human beings without desire extinct.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
Oh
my goodness. Oh.
Give him a hug.
We love you, Matt.
We love you, Maddie.
Okay, I think we need more super chats just so Matt can be happy again.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the gong on this too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't blame them.
a little bit further, and then we'll switch to another video.
Yeah.
Also, can someone just before we carry on, can someone explain to me the mentality of this thing may tempt me to do something, therefore I'm going to shut myself off from it completely. All that tells me is that you have no self-control.
Correct.
Perfectly. Exactly.
I mean, I know that cake is going to tempt me, but I still go to the grocery store and go through the deli area.
Correct.
I still buy the cake.
Exactly.
Just saying. Okay. Let's get a little bit more into this one, and if we get while we're watching this next segment of the video, put a 1 in the chat if you want us to move on, and a 2 if you want to continue watching. And Bull, go ahead and play it while we get the votes in the chat.
15. If marriage is nowhere in sight because you're just too young, you're still in high school, you just realistically can't go anywhere to get married.
Yeah.
What about the temptations? You're really attracted to this guy, but you can't really go anywhere long term. So just we were challenged to think about the temptations that could arise if we're in these romantic relationships before we can do anything about it.
Because we were striving for purity. That was our goal. We wanted to remain pure. We wanted to pursue purity. And we saw that these relationships at a young age were probably not going to be helpful in achieving that.
Yeah, totally. So the first thing that we were challenged to think about was temptation. The second thing we were challenged to think about is just intentionality with relationships. So thinking of the big term picture, the long-term vision, and asking ourselves, okay, like Kristen said, what is the purpose of marriage?
With the next video, because we got gonged on this one. Thank you very much, chat, for being involved in that. Also, Bull, if you will look in our group chat, Mr. Victory has so graciously gifted us a meme based on where we paused their faces. And if you will graciously put that up on the screen for everyone to see.
Nice.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good, yeah.
It is.
Hissy and Keelah can't see it yet, but they're going to see it in a minute.
No, Dark, I don't think we should chipmunk this. Our voices are high enough as it is.
Yeah. That's just torture on a new level.
Yes.
I think we're going to gong this one and move to the one that's dimmed.
Yes.
There it is.
Oh, God.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just threw up a little in my mouth.
How do you strive for purity? Like, did they have bleach somewhere, or like, what's going on with that? I'd love to just deconstruct the entire concept of purity.
Do you have the gong sound, Bull, by chance? They want to hear the gong sound.
We love the gong.
They would. Okay, hold on.
There we go. I just dinged it.
There you go.
Close enough.
A gong? Bell. Oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
That's the idiot bell. That's the idiot bell. We don't want that.
Bell.
That's right.
We don't want the idiot.
Although they
bell.
are idiots, so it works. So
That's true.
Smart.
Bell the bell.
Well, Bull, I think let's do the collab with.
Idiot is a swear, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
Bull's going mad on the bell now.
Jinzu's like, not the dinger, gong.
Yeah. Let's do the collab video, the Paul and Morgan and Girl.
I love it.
What they say.
We make do with what we got, right?
Right.
I need to get me a gong. Although I'll drive everybody nuts with the gongs.
Oh.
All right, y'all, let's get into this next video. I have a feeling this is good. Oh, wait, hang on. Hang on.
Oh, look, we got a
Go
super
further.
chat.
9 o'clock hero for £1.99 says, Matt is the coolest announcer of all time.
Hell yeah.
He's right.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
I'm retiring after this. Matt,
Yeah.
good job.
There you go. You did it.
Alrighty, so Bull, let's do the video with Paul and Morgan and Girl Defined, and let's get it started.
Are we looking at this modesty situation from a godly standpoint or a worldly standpoint? So I encourage you to ask yourself that right now before you even watch any further in this video.
What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm Paul.
I'm Morgan.
And this is the Paul and Morgan, the Paul and Morgan Show. So we are honored to be joined by Kristen and Bethany from Girl Defined.
Yes, we're so excited to be on here.
We are for real so happy. You guys are one of our favorite YouTube channels. Can you tell us just briefly, for the 1 or 2 people on our channel that don't know who you guys are, what's going on over on your all's channel?
Oh yeah, so what's going on is that we are sisters. We're not the same age, we're about 2 years apart, and we started Girl Defined. So Girl Defined is our YouTube channel. You just look it up, Girl Defined. And really our hope and goal is really just to point women back to Christ and help them understand God's amazing design for womanhood, because it is so incredible, but it can.
Where are they, the ferret people? I think they were the ones that had the ferret, I think. Paul
Sorry.
and Morgan.
Yes.
Probably. They're the ones where they gave marriage about what advice about marriage or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, treat her like a delicate vase.
Yes.
Yes.
I just
Can I just comment?
question, and my entire relationship is about to hinder on this question. Cross Puncher in the chat, can we please start a channel and sing a duet like that?
That would be awesome.
I could just see Ilya and Christ Puncher. I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Keelah. I'm sorry. I had to just do
Yeah,
that.
I just wanted to point out the aim is to lead young girls, especially, back to Christ and back to God by shaming them.
Yes.
I mean, that's not really the best way of engaging with people. But sorry, I just had to point that out.
No worries. Yep.
Because God's totally awesome.
For sure. Alrighty. Bull, let's get back to it. Let's try to get through this one a little bit further.
Yeah.
Be really confusing to know how to limit out.
Thanks, guys. Well, hey, real quick, if you're new to this channel, we make Christian advice videos on life, love, and dating to help you have hope.
And be free.
So subscribe. All right, Kristen and Bethany, Morgan, 3 of the finest ladies I know. Are you guys ready?
I'm scared. Engines are rolling. Let's go. Let's do this thing.
So the topic we're covering today is Christian modesty, and we're specifically going to dive into, is there unfair modesty standards for girls? We realize that this topic, it just immediately, you see that, you're like, oh man, where are they going to go with this? And you might even be tempted to put up some walls. Our desire is to just talk about some stuff in a grace-filled way, and we ask that you would be open to receiving it.
I think the receiving it is so important, because I think it's like we want to have compartments as Christians, and we kind of want to like, okay, I want to honor God in this way, but he's not touching this. And I think for like ladies, modesty can be one of those areas. Like, this is too hard. I don't want to talk about it. And I kind of want to point the finger or do whatever it takes to not have to think about this. But I think it's so true. Like, if we, you know, as like are claiming to be Christ followers, then we need to let him into every area of our life, even modesty, which
Our
can
closets.
be, into our closets, which can be hard, but it is really important.
So guys who have been following our channel for a little while, about a year ago, we made a Christian modesty bikinis ? Video. And it went viral. And we noticed a trend. There was of course, as you might expect, a lot of backlash, a lot of pushback. By far, the most common pushback and backlash was this. Okay, you guys, if men are telling women that they should dress modestly, that they should stay away from wearing small bikinis at the beach or pool, well then guess what? Men should have the same standards. Men should be wearing shirts at the pool. So we thought we would just use that kind of as a springboard for this conversation.
Yes, to ask, should guys be dressing more modestly? Is there a double standard? Can guys even be immodest, like in a way that girls can be immodest? I just wanted to start.
Short answer is yes, there is a double standard. Okay, Bull, you can replay.
Absolutely.
There is a double standard, period. Yep. Yes.
Also, I feel like I'm getting the impression we can skip anytime the women in that open their mouths because all they're doing is repeating what he says.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Can I just say,
they're just echoing him.
Hugh Durst just said, I wear a small bikini at the pool. Might empty the pool though. Definitely.
Can I just say that I wear whatever I want to when I go swimming, and it's nobody's business to tell me what I can and can't wear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going out there full-fledged naked when there are kids there or anything, but you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to wear what I want to.
And I think they're taking the wrong tack with this and saying that, if women have to cover up, then shouldn't men have to cover up too? No. You just shouldn't ask people to cover up if they're not comfortable covering up. Just look away. Walk away. It's all right. You don't have to control people's bodies. Just walk away.
Control your own eyes, and you don't have to control people's entire bodies.
Yeah.
Correct.
All righty, Bull, let's go.
Start this off with telling you ladies who are watching this video, and this is gonna maybe sound a little bit blunt, but I say it with love.
Morgan Blunt?
Ladies, you've got to stop looking at this situation of modesty in the world's eyes. I think that it's so easy for our hearts to be immediately hardened to hear the things that our social media is pushing on: be yourself, show your body, love yourself, blah, 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 to see all this stuff that the world is pushing and be like, yeah, I agree with that. But let's ask, does God say that type of stuff? Are we looking at this modesty situation from a godly standpoint or a worldly standpoint?
I love what you said, Morgan. It's like we have to stop and say, okay, God, I cannot.
Just quickly, has she got a tattoo on her arm?
Yeah, I was going to comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, these people and their hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to come at me and tell me to be modest, you better be covered up from head to toe with your hair in a tight bun and not a mark on you and not even your ears pierced.
Yeah, because in the Bible, in the Bible, it does say if a woman doesn't cover her hair or her head, then her hair should be cut off.
It also says her hairs are glory, so there's a lot of contradictions as well.
It's full of contradictions, mainly because it was written by about 200 people. You're gonna get contradictions,
and it's being translated by another 200 people,
and none of which were God, by the way.
Yeah,
they may say it was inspired, but
and let's face it, most of them were men. Most of them were men.
Yes, when men write things, you never know half the time anymore, even back then, because everything is so contradictory. It's all
Exactly. Ready?
Ready. What is this worldly and godly view?
Hold on. Sorry. Sorry about that. Keep going.
Sorry. This whole worldly and godly view thing that they're touting.
You can't have a godly view without a worldview.
True.
Because everything that they're raised with has been informed by society. Even if they don't want to believe it's been informed by society, it has been. Their social circle is society. It's a social circle.
The fact they're wearing makeup tells you that spices for it's worldly. The tattoo, worldly. So there you go.
Okay. You ready?
Where's Matt?
Res instance for Australian $5 said, calling Morgan blunt is just a polite way of saying saying she doesn't. think before she speaks.
Yeah, she doesn't think at all. She doesn't think at all.
It's because she's not supposed to.
Well, that was good.
She's got a man to think for her.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And he's just as big a pleb as she is.
Ugh. No, that's an insult to plebs. At least they eventually woke up and rebelled.
Okay, let's go on with this.
Yes.
Do this for anyone else. Ultimately, it has to be first and foremost for you. And if that can be like our heart posture, I think truly it would be a lot easier to discuss this. Yeah, and when it comes to guys, like my husband and I have actually had this conversation a lot, because when we were dating and got married, this conversation came up because he was like, hey, there were certain things I would wear. And he's like, I don't know, like as a guy, when I see you in that, I look at this, like it really points to certain parts and it's distracting. And he's like, I want you to be beautiful. I want you to be feminine. I want you to embrace all of your womanhood, but to be considerate of how you do that. And
No.
Sorry, guys, but that is just ridiculous. Changing who you are and how you look for another individual to find you attractive is just pure dangerous and stupid.
If my husband tried to tell me how to dress, he'd be looking at divorce papers.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a red flag.
Big red flag.
Like, young women, if you're out there and you're dating someone and he's trying to control how you dress, how you speak, how you behave, it's a red flag. Walk away.
Right.
What was it? He said, I want you to look beautiful and feminine. Well, I mean, that as well is another problem, that all women have to be feminine. And that, what does he mean by feminine?
That's just really coded. That feels like coded language to me.
It's a loaded term. It's a loaded term.
Yeah.
That if you don't conform to my idea of feminine, if you're not feminine enough, I'm gone. And therefore you have to change how you look. That's scary.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Sorry, go on.
No.
The way that honors God, and then is really just honorable to the people around you. And so there's a verse in Philippians. You want to read it really quick? Yeah. It's like, just speaks to this idea of we as Christians need to be thoughtful of how can we honor others, whether Christians or non-Christians, whether we're guys or girls. It's Philippians 2, and then it's like 3-4. It says, let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others. Christ, he came to earth and he deserved like everything, but he made himself like lower and was willing to give up his life ultimately for others. And in small ways, are we willing to make those sacrifices for others? Like with modesty, instead of pointing the finger, can we say, hey, like as a woman, I can be like a blessing and encouragement to others and really put them before myself. So it's just a matter of like, who are you going to put on top? Are you going to really put other people on top, or are you always going to be kind of like the queen of your life?
So guys, one thing I wanted to bring up and
Pause.
You should always be the queen of your own life.
Yes.
Even the men, you should be the queen of your own life.
And
yes,
how you are with other people, how you respect them, how you sacrifice has nothing to do with what you wear. It's who you are inside.
Here's the why is she conflating changing your clothes with being crucified? Does she understand what being crucified entails?
Probably not.
Can I also address this issue of sacrifice? Relationships are not built on sacrifice. They're built on cooperation. You don't have to sacrifice who you are for a meaningful relationship.
No, but
you
can
compromise.
sacrifice, like, okay,
You
honey,
compromise.
well, you need work pants, so I'll sacrifice getting what I need so you can go get your work pants.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, that it's not, where you sacrifice yourself,
Again, it's another loaded term.
It is.
That they throw out as if it's meaningless, but it means so much.
Yep. All right, go ahead.
Society has really pushed against this. Society has really said, men, women, there's no differences. Like, they're the same. The roles are the same. But I want to push back on that and say that God has made man and woman two different beings. I mean, they're different. And men have specific roles according to the Bible, specific things that they carry, and women have specific roles. And so I think that when it comes to modesty, it's going to look a little bit different. I'm not saying across the board, but typically men are going to be more visual. So in this specific area, I would say that it is a little bit more of the responsibility of the woman to just watch how she dresses, to honor God in the way she dresses. And
Whoa! It's not my responsibility to control your wayward eyes and your wayward prick, man.
Right.
Can I also just say he pointed out this that I got distracted there. He pointed out this idea that men are more visual or will be more visual. Then why do they expect women to be completely perfect head to toe, makeup, everything, and a guy just has to throw on a t-shirt and jeans?
Right.
Exactly.
And these guys want their women looking impeccable.
Yep.
Just have to point that out.
All right, we got a super chat. Who's ready?
We do. Yes. Res Instance for Australian $5 said, "What gets me if their religion and how and its sacred texts actually dictated how they dressed/behaved, they would not come even close to meeting the standard."
You put 2 words on they dressed. That's okay.
Also,
but that's right, though.
it is right, because if they actually obeyed the standards of the book they're claiming to, 3 of the people in that video wouldn't open their traps.
Right.
Exactly.
Because, women ain't supposed to speak.
They wouldn't even be on camera.
Hey, Bull,
They wouldn't even be there, period.
We've got 25 minutes left in the show. Let's speed it up a little bit and let's try to bust through some of this so that way we can do a good wrap up.
Even perhaps sensitive of the men around her. We're specifically speaking to Christians here. We're not going to put this on the world. We're not trying to say that everyone out in the world needs to do this. We're speaking to Christians because, as brothers and sisters in Christ, we have permission to bring this up and to talk about it, and even to challenge people who perhaps need to be challenged. Yeah, one of the things that Paul and I were talking about was God gives us all, us women, certain ways to honor Him, and He gives men certain ways to honor Him, and they're different ways to honor. Like, there are similarities, like in our marriage, there are similarities how we can love one another and honor God. And so God has called women to dress modestly. Men, you are called to protect and provide for your woman, for your family. He hasn't laid that role on us. I think we need to really dive into the Bible and look at what God has called us women to do, and say, okay, is He calling men to do this too? Is He giving men, full pass to be totally immodest and gross? No. Men have a responsibility. There is ways that men can dress immodest, and if you go on Instagram and search long enough, you'll see that men are on there looking scandalous and seductive, and that's not good. And men can be immodest in other ways too, not just in the way they dress, in the way they act towards women, in the way they talk about women, things like that. So there are absolutely ways that men can be immodest and gross. But going back to this idea that, there are differences in men and women in our makeup. Say maybe there was a girl or a female YouTube channel that wanted to bring out something specific to men, like maybe challenging men not to be so passive and to step up and to be the better leaders in a relationship. Like,
I actually feel sorry for the pair of blondes because they can't get a word in.
Can I just say, still easier to understand than Tatty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Oh no! Being honest, I can't object to anything they just said because I didn't understand it.
Exactly, I know.
And it was so nice.
I thought they talked fast before.
But I can actually object to the fact that in a stream with 4 people, he is dominating the conversation.
He is.
Correct.
He is.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
A conversation on female modesty with 3 girls and 1 guy, and the 1 guy dominates it.
Yeah.
That's like, no offense, Bull, that's like having all of us here and Bull talks 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It would still be better than that.
I would not feel comfortable with that at all.
Wow.
This is ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. We can continue.
God has called us men to do. It wouldn't be right for maybe me to watch that video and to get upset and say, okay, if you're saying that men should be better leaders and step up, then so should women. No, I would say that because that's not a mantle that God has called women to carry. And I would equate that and say there's some similarities in the women watching this and saying, okay, if men are saying that women shouldn't dress immodestly, then men also need to wear shirts and be held to the exact same modesty standards. And for one, women have curves that men just don't. So I mean,
part of the video and you can't understand them.
We can go ahead and stop.
Yes, please. My
Did
ears are
anyone
bleeding
catch
already.
the comment he made that
Okay.
they all laughed at?
Yeah.
Women have curves that men just don't.
No.
Like, oh no,
No.
I
really?
know, right?
Really?
Women have
Really?
curves
Wow.
and men just.
Also, can I just point out that that statement was she was making the statement that modesty in by biblical terms is for our own good.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's the one sentence that really stuck out with me. It's for your own good, and this is the idea of shaming.
Yeah.
You know,
It's victim blaming, is what
it
it
is.
is.
For sure.
It is. It's setting up victim blaming, definitely. Christ.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. I think that, okay, I am ready to call it done for a night. I've seen enough stupid about
One
what,
heck of a night. Yeah.
what women need to beware.
I'm not entirely sure I have enough alcohol to see much more stupid than I.
Hampton's without alcohol, so you know.
Yeah.
Applause
Well-
for you.
Let's get some final thoughts wrapped up here. So, what are your final thoughts, Hissy, on the videos we watch? What are your final thoughts to send our chat off with?
Well, first of all, those people's voices go through me. I don't know how anyone can listen to them for any length of time. Second of all, I am not going to listen to a couple of girls who I genuinely didn't think were old enough to know what a relationship was, and some bloke who the best he can come up with is that he's seen the female form, and to tell me how to dress and live my life on this one.
Right.
On the transformed wife now, she's a scourge on the internet. She's a vapid waste of bandwidth. And I just really... I used to get really angry at this kind of thing. I'm beyond angry, I just pity them.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm like, if your worldview is that blinkered,
I heard.
what kind of life are you living? Because it ain't a good one.
Right.
You know, just think.
For sure.
And I genuinely, I can sit here and take the mickey out of them, but the truth is I pity them. It feels like punching down a little bit. I feel a little bit icky. Because it's just, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got you.
That's my thoughts on it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you again for joining. For the chat, I am putting links in the chat to their channels so you can go subscribe. Also in the description, we do have a link to Danger Hissy or Hissy Hideaway's channel. Make sure you go subscribe. And Krafty Keelah, what are your final thoughts, love?
Well, people know that I've studied sociology, and sociologically speaking, both of those couples could not be more upper middle class if they tried. If their only issue in life is what God thinks of them and how the religion impacts on them, then they are very, very, very privileged. Most people that I know from working class backgrounds or from lower middle class backgrounds, they don't have the luxury of reinforcing these dangerous stereotypes, male or female. And so when I look at these young people coming up and they are so indoctrinated that they can't actually see beyond their own way of thinking, it's so unhealthy, it is so dangerous. And the faster that YouTube steps in and slaps them around and says, nope, your content is banned, the better. It's not because it's religious. It's because it's reinforcing this idea that women are less than men. It's reinforcing the idea that you have to subscribe to only one way of being We are all individuals, we are all special, and we are all amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for joining us as well, Krafty.
My pleasure.
I have put your channel also in the chat, and it's also in the description as well. Make sure you guys go subscribe to these wonderful women. We've had so much fun with them tonight. I definitely for sure see them.
We love you. Yeah, it was definitely great having them on.
You guys are so awesome.
Yes.
You
All
are.
right.
I was so thrilled to have you on.
Yes.
Do you have any wrap-up thoughts?
Not really, other than I can't. But like I was talking about before the show, the concept of being against your self-interest,
yes,
is just unreal in my head. Like it's like a women voting Republican comes to mind. It's like why?
Yeah.
Because husband said so.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, and then why would you listen to somebody that tells you what to do like that?
Right.
That would drive me insane.
Me too. I'm the same way. Okay, mommy.
Yeah, I mean, I have issues with them because they are so young.
Right.
I've lived long enough. They could be my children for their age, but it just, I've lived long enough to learn that you're going to miss out on a heck of a lot if you do what somebody else wants you to do.
Yep.
Not what you want to do for yourself. And you only get one life to live. And to live it for somebody else makes your life worthless. Not worthless, but meaningless to yourself. If that makes any sense.
It does, yeah. SciStrikeling, what are your final thoughts?
You know, my usual thought, of course, with especially these people is, you know, just the extremes that things are taken, but more so just about, you know, it's not up to anybody else what you do or what kind of timeline you have on your life, you know, and for somebody to tell you, you know, that these are the things that you should be doing to be a good wife or, you know, to be in a relationship or anything like that is just ridiculous. And it's a dangerous message that they spread to especially to young, more vulnerable women.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, Aimee?
Yeah, I have to agree with the other ladies. What they're saying is pretty, it's dangerous as far as young, impressionable people go that they're telling all of this stuff to. There's no way in God's green earth I would ever let Matt watch what they have to say. You know, it's, gosh, no. Because it's not a healthy way to think. You know, just because he's male doesn't mean he can control someone else because they're not. You know what I mean? I really struggle with that when somebody misinterprets things and says that. That's not how it works. It's natural to want a partnership. It's natural to, you know, we're going to pool our resources together. That's what Bob and I did when we were married. We pooled our resources together and put our heads together on a lot of things. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? You know, and we both sound off each other. It was a partnership. It wasn't he was the boss and I was just the employee. It didn't work that way. So, you know, I struggle with that a lot when I hear these people say that, and I just want to speak up and say, no, you've got that all wrong. And not to mention the fact things in society 2,000 years ago was so much different than it is now. We've learned so much more. And so that's my issue with the whole thing too. It's like we've evolved. And someone else wants to say good night too, please.
Good night, guys. I will see you in the next video.
See you later, Matt.
Bye, Matt.
He's good at this.
I love you, Matt.
He's a great addition for sure. Well, I just want to say thank you to the chat. As always, you guys keep this show running. Were it not for you guys coming and joining us and talking with us through this process, you know, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for coming out tonight and and hanging out. Thank you, Hissy. Thank you, Krafty Keelah. We really had a lot of fun with you guys. All I really want to say and wrap up is be you. Be yourself. Don't ever let somebody else define who you are or who you should be. It should always be up to you where you want to go with your life, what you want to do with your life, how you want to dress, how you want to present. That should be up to you. And don't ever feel ashamed to be anything other than who you are. And that's my biggest message. And just know that there are support groups out there if you do feel ashamed or if you are going through something internally that you don't know how to process. Don't let these types of people and these types of videos, put you on a path to self-destruction. Just know that there are support groups out there that you can find that will help support you through whatever you're going through. So keep that in mind. And as always, we love you very much, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
I will
coming.
see you guys
We love
in
you.
the next video.
That's right.
Bye bye.
I will see you in the chat.